Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode number 55. The show where we tickle your Linux fancy. I can't believe I just said that because I never say things like that, and it didn't even sound that good. But it's just the first thing that popped into my mind, and that's what I do. What we do here on this show is go over tons of things about Linux. I mean, we bring news, information about distros, software, gadgets, tablets perhaps, all kinds of stuff. And I am just the man here who turns the mic on, turns the cameras on, introduces the show, and brings on this guy. The door-to-door geek, Steve McLaughlin. What's up, Door, from doortodoorgeek.com. What's up?
Just busy last 2 weeks with a myriad of illnesses going through my house like a zombie plague.
Oh, man, that sounds harsh.
Oh, it's fun. Steve, gotta tell you. Oh, yeah, of course, kid germs. But today, my oldest son woke up from his coma for like 10 hours and said he was hungry. Okay, come on here. I'll make you something to eat. Something mild for your belly. I'm not a fool. He gets like 2 or 3 bites in, and he's like, I got to go potty. And gets up and runs to the bathroom. And I'm okay, whatever, man. I'm going to cook myself something to eat. And then I hear screaming, bloody murder screaming. And he locked the door for some reason. I don't know. He's paranoid, I guess. Open the door, and he's just sitting on the potty. It's on fire. And I almost wanted to laugh because it was hysterical, but I almost wanted to cry because that was my son in agony.
Yeah.
So all I could do was just lean over, hug him. It's going to be okay, son. It's going to be okay.
Good. What did you feed the kid? Jeez.
He was eating, on my watch, a bland, plain, whole grain waffle, no syrup, no butter, no nothing. Last night he did eat chicken nuggets.
Spicy?
No, just regular chicken nuggets. And he did keep asking for ketchup. No. When he kept asking for barbecue sauce, oh, no.
Okay.
You're eating as plain as possible.
That's funny.
But it was one of those moments. You only get a couple of them a lifetime, you know. And it was just a look on his face because typically when his glasses are off, one of his eyes are almost crossed.
Right.
And when I opened the door, he looked up at me, and they were both just beaming straight at me with like bloody murder fright in his eyes. And I'm thinking, oh my, did he fall? Did he hit his head?
Right,
He screamed,
of course.
crying, oh no, there's blood or something. No, it just burns.
Oh man, poor kid.
Actually, the word he used was, it's hot, it's hot.
Oh man. Well, he made it through. He didn't.
Yes.
I guess, we get scared by things like that through our lives.
Right. He made it through, came on the kitchen, ate his half his meal, then he went down and passed out for another 7 hours.
Okay. That's what kids do, I guess.
And when they're sick, yeah.
Well, I hope you guys all feel better.
Yeah.
This is episode 55. I think I got that right. Yes, I did. What do you want to talk about today, Dor? And if you could shoot me your notes, that would be pretty sweet. I'll put the links up.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a part 1, I'll say.
Okay.
Because I made a mistake. If anyone has any faith in my organization, you're making a mistake. We're going to have a lady on tomorrow, not going to be cast live. We'll record it and insert it into the show. Moose from OLF, who is part of the conference, chairman of the board kind of thing. So
Ohio Linux Fest. I'm probably the only one that doesn't know that, but I just wanted to say that.
Yes, I'm sorry. The OLF. She's been involved with it for many years. Tonight, we're going to just talk about a couple light-hearted things, and then I just wanted to talk about my personal experiences with Linux users, communities, arenas, kind of thing.
Oh, sweet.
The first thing I wanted to post was I actually did post this on Google Plus. I just put it in the twitch.tv chat room. It's 10 things Linux users don't understand. Now I'm going to say it's not a completely accurate title. What it should be is the top 10 things Linux only users do not understand. Like they've never used anything else in their life but Linux.
Okay.
The number 10, this is like a Dave Letterman. Number 10, this program has performed a illegal operation and will be shut down. in quotes, we don't see that message ever. If something typically crashes, it just typically crashes and just disappears. We don't get these messages with arcane error messages that don't really help. Okay. Now, super quick Windows tip. Windows tip. Because I was on the hangout last night with Chris, our friendly, not happy Canadian friend.
Is he unhappy these days? Damn it, Dor. I cannot. I'm losing you. What are you downloading?
Nothing at all.
Are you watching podcasts while you're doing this podcast?
Nope, I promise, and I don't think I have this thing. I think I have this thing turned on Wi-Fi. But Chris is our Dvorak-ish.
I gotta stop it, dude. Sorry.
Okay.
You know what's going on or no?
These things were both on Wi-Fi.
That's still shouldn't. I don't think it should do it. What both things?
My Android.
I think you're pretty much gone. You want to do a speed test?
Let's
see what we get.
Yeah, let me just show this. Well, it hasn't been above 3 upload for a while. And it's really been making me mad. I'm trying to talk the wife into.
Yeah, they say you're torrenting in the chat room.
No, I'm too cheap to torrent. Speedtest.net. When I type it right, I blame Skype because it's Microsoft doing, and they don't like me talking about them, even when it's a tip. Ping time 16 milliseconds. That's fantastic. Download speed 23 megabits.
Means nothing. What's your upload speed? How come
I'm going to bet and say 3.
If it is 3, I'll call you back, and that should handle it. But let's see what it says.
3.4. 4.0.
Oh, wow. That's great. Okay. All right, let me call you back on Skype and see if that fixes it.
Okay. Testing.
Oh, man. What is going on?
Not any better?
No. Nobody's watching, streaming any Netflix or anything, or?
I'm sure she is.
Really?
Sure as today ends in the letter Y.
Ah, shoot. So that is usually happening during the show. So that can't be the reason then.
Well, it's been happening for the last 2 months.
Gotcha.
Every show.
Okay.
She's up to season 5 of Night.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because everything else seems to be running smooth. I did throw away one of the routers, which I think was slowing everything down.
You threw it away?
Yeah, I threw it away.
Wow. Still just barely getting you. Just barely getting you. Let me test mine, okay?
Yep.
Guys in the live feed, am I coming through okay to you guys?
I'm gonna blame ads.
Unless Skype is doing something funky these days.
It's just me. I do believe Mitch.
It's just Door. Door is rough for me too. You're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Getting 20. About 22 down, 21.
See, I don't see anything else in this box that would be using network at all.
Your ping speed was actually faster than mine.
Well, it's all depends on how close the place is that you're pinging. Me, it's 10 miles, 20 miles down the road. Try Google Talk, Zero, they said. The video quality isn't snuff, Zero Day. I'm smudged. That's the Vaseline I put on the camera to hide my blemishes.
Let me see what my upload is. Yeah, I'm good here. You want to just do the whole show tomorrow?
We can, but I don't better on my end.
I don't know what to do. I mean, I could reboot my Skype computer. Ready to try that?
This thing hasn't been rebooted.
I can't hear you, man. I think I've officially lost you.
Okay, I'm going to reboot.
Okay.
Reboot.
Okay. Bear with us, guys. We'll be back shortly. My results are acting kind of funny. Weird. All right. I think we'll see what happens with Door. I froze again for 2 seconds. I was frozen for a second. Huh. Weird. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep my stuff on for now. If Door doesn't get fixed, then I'll try something on my end. But
Testing. 1.5, 2.
You sound good.
2.25.
Let's see what happens when your video comes up.
So I say it looks like it ain't coming up. The light's on. The camera. Let me say stop my video. Wait a second. Start my video. There you go. Testing 3 3/3.
All right, let's go with it and see what happens.
Okay.
All right. Do you want me to tell you where we were last talking about?
Oh, I know exactly where we're at.
Okay. Ready, go.
Yep. Yeah, I was in a hangout, Chris and Eric, and they weren't aware of this tip, but I'm going to make sure everybody else is aware of this tip. In Windows, since Windows 95, if you have any kind of error message pop up, that's a Windows error message of any shape, size, form, or whatever, even though you can't click any of the text in that error message, just hit Control and C on your keyboard and you will actually copy all of the text from that error message as plain text. Open up a browser or a notepad, hit Control V, and you will have every bit of text from that message verbatim. Makes it much easier to search Google for the resolution.
You're saying when this happens on a Linux box?
when this happens on a Windows box. I give Windows tips from time to time too.
Oh, okay.
On Linux, we don't get those messages, so we don't need it.
And you said highlight it in Control-C, or did you have another method? Sorry.
No. Just make sure the window's active.
Yeah.
And then just hit Control-C.
Oh, that is a great tip.
Because the text is not selectable in the window. It's just, hard text. So you just hit Control-C and you have all the text captured.
Ooh, that's a great tip.
Okay. Number 9 on this list out of 10, Blake Stoll.
Who is that?
I have no idea.
Are you serious?
Blake Stoll, Wikipedia. Oh, Blake Stoll is Director of Corporate Communications for the SCO Group. SCO is the monopolistic bad word people who are trying to sue Linux and say they own the patent to Linux.
Gotcha.
So Linux people don't understand him. Number 8, Office Suite upgrade cost you $149 or more.
Whoa.
Can't understand that. Number 7, the registry. We really have no idea what it's doing, why it's there. It makes no sense to us. Number 6, antivirus software. I will say I do agree with Larry Bushy, Going Linux, 2 shows ago, explained why he believes most people should run antivirus even on their Linux desktop. It's the good neighbor philosophy of you're not going to accidentally get your Windows friends infected. But no doubt in my mind, 95% plus of all Linux people running it on their desktop have no concern about antivirus. And if you've never used anything else, I don't think you could spell antivirus. Number 5, installing software forcing a reboot.
You don't have to do it on Linux. You just install and use.
The only 2 things you have to do, if you update the video driver or what application is the desktop environment, then you have to log out and log back in. And then if you update the kernel itself, you have to reboot. But the kernel updates are few and far between. And there is a technology called K-Splice, which was just purchased by Oracle, which you don't have to reboot even to update the kernel. It's very, well, for some kernel updates, you don't have to reboot, which is kind of black magic.
Okay.
And in Windows, you uninstall an IE toolbar and it wants you to reboot. Okay, number 4, Daryl McBride.
Who's that?
I don't know. Wikipedia again. Wikipedia, former CEO of SCO. We don't understand anybody involved with SCO. They're basically now defunct. I think they're gone finally, but I don't know. Number 3, operating system upgrades for $149. Once again, no comprehension what that means. Number 2, defrag your hard drive, which I will say just minutes before the show on Google Plus, someone asked about what's a good defragging tool for Linux. And yours and my good friend Leaf over at Any PC Service promptly replied, "You're not going to find one because they don't need it." I will say Linux does a good defrag on the fly to each file it writes to.
Wow.
Which is kind of counterintuitive. Windows supposedly does this. Anybody who believes that, I got a bridge to tell you. If that's the case, why is it then after months of using Windows and you run a defragger, it takes hours for it to finish?
Right.
Because it really does a pathetically horrible job of defragging. Much better than NTFS back in Windows 95 days, but still it needs it. On Linux, even though the entire I/O of the disk is completely slowed down because it defrags literally on the fly good, yet it's still faster operating system. Weird.
It's efficient.
Yeah, it is. And the only reason I know it literally does it on the fly, had a thumb drive. I used grub for DOS, booting to ISO files. The ISO files had to be contiguous, all one block on there. And of course, when I copied it to them from my work computer, they were all fragmented all over the drive. All I did was stick it into my Linux box, copy the file off, copy the file back on, and it worked fine.
Really? It made it contiguous?
It made it contiguous.
Awesome.
So your drives themselves are actually more orderly, I'll say.
Oh, sure.
And the number one thing I will say, the number one thing that Linux users do not understand is why everybody isn't running Linux. I'll say, pull back a hair. I won't say everybody, why the majority of people aren't, because the majority of people use 1/10 of the horsepower of their computer. They only browse the internet, they only check their email, they only log into Facebook, go into YouTube, and do those common task kind of things. They don't do hardcore video editing or any of these complex tasks.
That's the thing.
They're perfect candidates.
They are perfect candidates. My question would be, why don't the software developers write for Linux? You know, I want to run Reason by Propellerhead. I really don't want to run it on a Windows box or a Mac machine. I'd love to run it on Linux, but I can't, you know? I'm running Studio One here. I can't run that on Linux. But I did buy a Behringer piece of hardware, audio hardware, and it came with a sequencing program or a multi-track recording program called Energy TX, I think it's called, Mac, Linux, and Windows. So, you know, they're getting there. They're getting there. But my question would be, why don't instead of why isn't everybody running Linux, why doesn't everybody write for Linux? Because I would switch over the majority of my machines. I would probably switch over all my machines. I want to run Linux on everything. I would really love that.
For most of the task, it really does make things easier. For some of the tasks, I will admit, it either is super hard to do in Linux or you just can't do it.
It doesn't exist yet. The software doesn't exist.
Right. Well, the perfect example I'll use is Linux for the Rest of Us video series. I needed your assistance to do the video editing itself. I'm not a video editor, not at all.
Right.
You are very comfortable with using a Windows application. That Windows application wanted their files in a certain format. So for me to work with you, I had to use Windows to record those videos.
Right.
I truly, honestly believe you have to use what you got to get what you want, to quote, 60s funk songs.
Even with those videos, I'm sure there was a way you could have done it with Linux, but since I insisted, and I did insist on helping you, I was comfortable with Windows, so you could totally blame me for that. I'll take it blame.
I'm not going to blame you. Yeah. It was the quickest, easiest, fastest way for us to work together and get it done.
I agree. Okay, that works.
Right. And it's not like I let my wife touch this and get it infected, Okay, next quick link I want to go over. It's just a really quick blurb post over at howto.cnet.com. 5 great uses for your old Windows computer. You can make it number 1 on their list, which ain't numbered. Media center nervous system types to your entire home. With DLNA, that is the technology used by Xboxes, PlayStations, all those kind of devices to access media. And most of the time when people want to stream media from a server, they want to go to those devices. Virtually any Linux home server system will come with that pre-built in. There is Ubuntu distributions that come with DLNA built in. You simply dump your files into certain directories and bam, you can access them from your Xbox. FreeNAS 0.7 has it built into it. FreeNAS really is rock frigging solid. Works really well. Myth TV has it built in. Element OS, I'm 99% sure, has it built in. There's a whole bunch of different ones built in, or you can simply install Ubuntu or Mint and just install a DLNA server. It's not difficult. So that's a great use for an old machine because you don't need a lot of processing power to stream video, as it turns out.
Really?
Yeah. Because, basically what you need is a fast network, quiet network, without someone streaming Netflix over it. Number 2 on their list, network media storage. Kind of the same thing, kind of different. File server is what I really call it. Once again, FreeNAS works like a charm for this kind of thing. Ubuntu, it's very easy. You simply right-click a folder and say share. Once you do that, you're technically a file server. You're serving files.
They don't talk about FreeNAS in this article, do they?
Well, because FreeNAS technically isn't Linux. Some people are under the impression it's hard and it's complicated. Let me tell you something. It isn't. You simply go through the install on a computer. Once it's done and it reboots, you turn off the monitor. You then have to access that computer via a web browser from another computer. So you put in the IP address of the other computer, and then it literally holds your hand down the path of, okay, we're going to set up your drives. Okay, what services do you want installed? Okay, you're ready to go. It's really easy.
Huh. I got to check it out.
The next thing they wanted to put on their list was Linux tester,
Like a
which
test
I
machine?
really have no idea what they're trying to say. I think what they mean is give Linux a try.
Yeah, that's what they mean.
And honestly, if you stop and think about it, I'm going to gripe. This is actually extremely uncommonly unfair standards that are set forth, and everybody is okay with it. For instance, you go into a store, you buy a computer that says with Windows, and you come home and you're guaranteed it's going to work great with Windows. Built for Windows, I have Windows. It's going to work right. But we have this unfair expectation of take anything and put Linux on it. And if it doesn't work, Linux sucks.
Right.
It's really honestly kind of unfair. If you don't have hardware problems when you go to install, to be honest, you should feel good because hardware problems do happen. So don't be shocked if you go to install on a computer and it doesn't work right.
I've had very good luck installing Linux on machines and having them just work. So.
Oh, in the last 2 years, it's gotten unbelievably better, but it still happens. And I'll say Paul, who does our notes in Australia, he has an issue I've never heard of and I've never been able to reproduce, and nobody even acknowledged it exists. In the bottom corner of his screen, he has a translucent window that says, I believe, ATI on it. And it's like the driver won't completely load, so he can't do everything on his desktop. And if he goes to hit screenshot, that translucent window doesn't appear on the screenshot.
Ooh, that's freaky scary.
It's weird, and things like that do happen. I gotta say, I do not like to give this advice ever. If you want to try to run Linux, to be completely fair, but you think you might go back to Windows, there's really only one option I know of, and that is to go to Dell, go to their business computers, buy a computer with Ubuntu on it pre-loaded, and then if it doesn't fit your needs, you can install Windows on it because that same hardware is supported by Windows. There are Windows-only people and Linux-only people. Dell's one of the few that offers both, so you can interchange back and forth.
Is there a savings, money savings?
Not much. I want to say it's like $50.
Okay. Well, at least it's something.
It's pizza and a imported 6-pack of beer. Because to just take anything out of a dumpster and expect it to work great, it's a little bit unfair, but go ahead and try it. But don't be shocked if it doesn't work.
Right.
It happens to the best of us.
Right. And can you also say, like, don't also expect to run like the latest version of Ubuntu or Mint on those machines? Maybe run like an older, stable version.
Right. And yes, I will say it will probably install and it will probably run. It might not run up to your liking. And to be honest, one of the best pieces of advice I got from somebody else is if you have a 3-year-old computer, your best bet for speed, flexibility, being comfortable in it is to install a 3-year-old operating system. Then you know that operating system was expecting to be ran on this level, this grade of hardware.
Yes.
And it just works better. The next one on their list is home security monitor. I will say The number one home security thing I think I can tell anybody to get into, it is Linux MCE. They go off on some weird tangent kind of thing, but Linux MCE, it's technically Linux Media Center Edition, but trust me, the name needs to change like now. With this system, it's very doable to have the system at home with cameras, with sensor activity to where it doesn't record until there's activity. And then you can even make it to when there is activity, you get a ding on your personal mobile device. Ooh. And when there is activity, it doesn't record it locally, but it records it up to the cloud. So if your house burns down, you still have all your data.
Wow.
And you can actually make it to where you can interact with your home system via home automation. And so it can say security system, activity, someone's at the front gate. Who is it? Pizza guy bringing my imported beer. And you can click a button and the gate will open.
What kind of beer?
I don't know imported beer.
I just thought you had one in mind. That's all.
I was going to say Sam Adams, but that's American.
Don't worry about it. I thought you just had one in mind.
Corona. That's from Texas. I don't know. Dos Equis. Because when you run an operating system, you should run Linux.
I don't always run Linux, but when I do, or no, I don't always run an alternate operating system, but when I do, I prefer Linux.
Exactly. And then the last one, backup storage device. We've been over many storage techniques on this show, Steve. It really is great, in my eyes, as a backup storage media because it's so light. You can run it on old crappy stuff, and it's so flexible. You can sync it across uncountable devices up to the cloud, SSH to a server, FTP to that server, and have everything you want in as many places as you want with not a lot of effort.
Okay, I had to stop the recording, Dor. I'm starting to lose you again.
Again?
Give me a test 1 2 3. You might have come back. Just wanted to make sure.
Test 1 1 1 1 2 2 2.
Again?
3 1 2.
All right, let's go with it. I'll let you know. We'll go with it. You sound good, but I'll let you know if it happens again.
Okay.
All right, ready? In 3 2 1, go.
Okay. And that was just a couple things I wanted to cover. In a couple short weeks here, we're going to have a festivity happen in the Midwest. It's the Ohio Linux Fest. I really am eager for this, but at the same token, I'm an utter noob to this kind of experience.
Are you nervous?
No. Well, here's one of the good things. Jonathan Nato is basically sharing a room with me, so I'm cool. I know I'm going to have somebody cool with me there. You know.
Yes.
That always makes me feel good. Jonathan knows John Mad Dog Holmes, which he's kind of the icon of the group. He is like the Hulk Hogan or Muhammad Ali of the conference. He's the guy who everybody wants to listen to.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm going to be able to at least say hi to him. He'll see him standing next to Jonathan at least and know I'm not a complete idiot.
Here he is, Mad Dog.
Yeah. He really is. The best way I can describe him to people who don't know, he's the godfather of open source.
Yeah.
Not of Linux per se. Linux lends itself to open source, but he really is an open source advocate.
He's got a 2-letter URL. It's a .org, but li.org, Linux International.
Wow, that costs a lot of money.
Now he probably got it freshly minted off of the whatever they do place.
Right.
Yeah, he looks pretty cool. Looks like he'd give an interesting talk.
Well, yeah, and I just wanted to let everybody know, I've only been into Linux for like 5 years, I'd say. This has been going on for 9 years. When I go there, I'm going to be at least semi-surrounded by a bunch of people with a lot more experience, understanding of Linux, people who've been there multiple years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of the things.
Go ahead.
One of the things we were trying to do is at Linux Basics. starting up a small fund to where maybe possibly I could buy a like flip kind of cam there and record not talks, but the experience of being at the fest.
Great idea.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Can I ask you something? You've only been in Linux 5 years? Are you serious? I had no idea.
I started back right before Ubuntu 606 Dapper Drake came out. That's the only reason I know. And that was June 2006. So I really started around, I'd say, April 2006.
Wow, damn. Well, you truly adopted it. Well,
and I have the OCD of when I'm in knees deep in, full throttle. I remember earlier that year getting a brand new Dell M1210 laptop and sitting at my recliner and for 3 hours pounding out a Windows update issue because I wasn't going to reinstall. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to do it. And I had the computer for less than 4 months, I'd say.
Right.
And it was loaded with Media Center Edition, which we know it wasn't Windows XP Home and it wasn't Windows XP Pro. It was a hybrid of Pro,
right,
but not really Pro.
Right.
But if you tried to do Pro things on it, it would break. I never, ever in my life contacted any support before, period. I contacted Dell support. 3 hours banging on it. Couldn't get it to work. And that's when I said, I'm never doing this again. Ever. There has to be a better way. And I was a tech. I knew what I was doing. I could go in to the registry, manually remove infections. I knew what files. I could open up program files folder and go like this real quick on somebody's computer and say, that's an infection, that's an infection, that's an infection.
Right.
And I knew I would just delete those files and folders, reboot. And when I saw which ones came back, I could delete the files and folders and I could watch what EXEs were recreating them. And then I could go in and do all that stuff. But Windows Update, black magic. Had no idea what was going on. So I said then and there, it's time to get away for good.
And how did you find Linux? And why did you choose that? How did you come across it?
I believe I remember from old Tech TV, screensaver days, they had someone on and they were showing off the desktop. And I remember I was watching some video cast. It might have been System, SYSTM.
Yes.
And they were talking about Myth TV. And that was what really got me first into it, because I did have a TV tuner card and this and that.
Yeah.
And then I accidentally stumbled across a video on YouTube of Compass effects.
Ah.
Oh, that's it. Say no more. We're installing right now.
And then you never looked back?
The only time I ever have Windows for my behalf is in a VM, because the Cisco client I use at my work is much easier to deal with in Windows. In Linux, I can install it, but every time I do install it, it modifies the kernel. And then every time I get a kernel update, I have to do the rebuilding process for the Cisco thing.
Yeah.
Too much like work. Don't want to do it.
All right.
Well, and I personally like connecting in a VPN to my work, so I can still in my host operating system do what I want to do and know it's not going through their network.
Right. Right.
Because I don't want anything to pass through my job network. And it's not because I'm scared what they're going to see I'm doing. I don't want them to have any access to any sites I use, accounts I use, passwords I use for anything.
Makes sense. It makes sense. It's smart.
It's my way of sticking it to the man.
Last question, because I'm enjoying the door history here. What distro did you install first? And
oh man, well, I first insisted I wanted to get the desktop effects. Okay, I knew partitioning. I knew about that to a degree. The very first thing I did, I'm going to say in the first week, I had a 7-boot operating system on my Dell laptop. I had Knoppix installed, SUSE installed, Ubuntu installed, Mandriva, I believe it was called, then installed, Dream Linux installed, SLIDAZ, DSL, and I think one more. And I said, whichever one I can get everything working first is the one I'm sticking with.
And what was it?
And Ubuntu Dapper Drake. After I came home, after I first connected it to the internet and then did my first round of updates, Ubuntu and SUSE both found my Wi-Fi and installed my Wi-Fi, and then upon reboot, everything was working. So then it was just a question of, I kept it as a dual boot, SUSE Ubuntu, and I fell into what is not affectionately called RPM hell. So I stuck with Ubuntu. RPM hell means you're taking a generic RPM from the internet, trying to force a round peg into a square hole, but to the unknowing, they both say RPM, so I'm thinking round peg, round hole. The RPM was not built for SUSE, it was built for Red Hat or some other distribution.
What is an RPM again?
RPM is a Red Hat package management file. Okay. It is like a setup.exe for an RPM-based distro.
Okay.
And then when I shoved that round peg and square hole, everything broke. Computer became unbootable into SUSE. And I said, I'm not doing that again.
Nice.
With Ubuntu deb files, either I always pick the right deb files, or because Ubuntu is so popular, they're the popular deb files, or Debian actually does, and I think, a little bit of a better job. If I'm getting a Debian file and I'm using its child Ubuntu, it has the same DNA structure, hypothetically, so it works.
I gotcha.
So that's what I've been using as my primary for mostly, but I will say 2/3 of my computers now have Mojave installed, which is an RPM distro, and I'm overall pretty satisfied with it.
Very interesting. Well, thank you, Dor. I found that interesting.
No problem. And if you have your own stories, and I will say, Larry Bushy at Going Linux have a segment called Gone Linux. If you guys want to tell us what you did to start using it, what your first experiences were with it, it's more than welcome.
We do have a bunch of emails and voicemails too, now that you mentioned that.
Oh.
So you let me know when you wanted to go and do them.
Right now. I'm ready.
Alrighty. This is one. I can never tell, guys, who the Google Voice one is until I play it. So let me just play it, and we'll get into it right now.
Hey, Steve. This is Jose from ComputerDoctor.com. Hey, I just wanted to know, I didn't know which podcast you want to use this on, but I just found out that the Google Music Manager, that we use on Windows to upload all your music and use it through your Android phone through that cloud streaming thing, they just released the manager for Linux, so for all those people that are into Linux and want to use it, now they have a way to manage that, the uploading of the files and all that. And also, of course, if you're using Android and Linux, then of course it's double good. So just wanted to let you guys know, and I guess you can use it wherever you feel fit. Thank you. Bye.
That's right. We played that on Android App Addicts. I think we squeaked it out. I think I was having problems with Google Voice that day. But yeah, this is very appropriate for this show. If you're using Google Music, you can now use it with your Linux distro too, as well as whatever else. Did you ever get into that, Dor?
I do have it installed. I do have a account thanks to my friends on Google+. I will say I'm not really a music guy, even though I do have 29 days worth of audio. It works. I downloaded it. I was able to install it on Ubuntu, easy as pie, even though pie is kind of complex to make. Very easily installed on my computer, ran like a champ, uploaded everything I wanted to, intelligently offered to scan my computer for what I wanted to upload. I just plugged in a USB drive, advanced, pointed to the drive, go. And it worked. And
nice.
Now whenever I'm at a place where I can't listen to something that needs my attention, I'll say, I do turn on the Google Music. And not when I'm driving. When I'm driving, I'm typically on mobile TeamSpeak now.
Aha.
Yeah.
Yes, because that's available on Android phones now.
Mm-hmm.
Timster enlightened us. Did I ever play the Cody Cooper one about the 50th episode anniversary?
Yes. Yes. He wanted to know why we weren't celebrating.
That's right. Okay. Well, next one is an email. It's sent to you by Tony via Google Reader. And it's about installing Linux on a 386 laptop. You forwarded this to me. Yes, you did, Dora.
Mm-hmm.
It's an article on installing Linux on a 386 laptop. The website is hackaday.com. And you can just do a search on Hackaday for installing Linux on a 386 laptop. There's a picture here I'm showing you guys on video. And did you read the article, Dora?
I read some of it, and I will say Tony is also involved with the OLF, so I definitely want to thank him for taking his time to send that to me, because surprisingly enough, he hit it before any of my news readers hit off on it.
Wow.
It took my news readers like another 2-3 days to pick up on it.
Wow.
But this is like the ultimate use of old hardware. You know, if you want something to open up your garage door or something, and you don't want to go out and pay $100 or whatever for some device that is quite easily hackable by anyone who wants to get in your house, you can use your old 386 laptop.
There you go. I'm trying to find out what distro he put on it. Not totally sure.
No, but it almost has to be Debian,
yeah,
or Arch.
I think he said something about Debian. He might have put a couple of them on. Anyway, check it out at hackaday.com. And thank you, Tony, for the link. It looks pretty cool. All righty. I think we got a couple more here. This one is from Clive. And Clive, I tried to send you a response to thanking you for this, but the email you sent us wasn't going through. So anyway, Clive says, "Hey guys, congrats on the show. I started listening back in show 5 and been listening ever since. I had no oh wow. I can't say the word prior, can I? I had no prior experience with Linux, so I started slow, testing some distros and figuring stuff out. I am now an Ubuntu user. I was recently made chief of a small department in the public sector. Gosh, guys, I think Steve's getting old here. Let me get closer to the screen. I was recently made chief of a small department in the public sector. I am in charge of some 25 people, so one of the first things I did was get rid of all the different types of Windows installs and loaded Lubuntu for the slower computers and Ubuntu for the more recent ones. So far, we've saved a lot of money on Windows licenses, replacing old computers that are now able to run very well thanks to Lubuntu, Office licenses, antivirus. Thanks for... I think he might be missing a word. Just wanted to share my story. Thanks a lot, guys. Keep it up. So their machines are running very well, and he's running Lubuntu. He doesn't need Office licenses and antivirus, etc.
Well, I'm jealous. I want to work at a place where saving money, trimming systems down is a good thing. And he had the exact opportunity to where I think I would be very well, like tightwad tech school guys. I think that's where I could blossom, dare I say.
Yeah, I could picture you saying, "We're running Linux and you're all going to be happy."
Oh yeah, I'd be going off on it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Clive. Rich says, "This is Rich from Cyber CPU Computer Repair. I just listened to your last Linux for the Rest of Us and wanted to add something to one of your email questions. You were talking about booting Windows with a Linux live CD and backing it up with rsync, but it would be easier to just use rsync. rsync is cross-platform. There is a Windows version available. I use it to back up a few Windows boxes that I have, and I have used this a few times with customers. It's easy to just make a bat file and use Windows Scheduler to make it automated. P.S. Sorry for the sloppy email. I'm writing this on my Android on the side of the road. I think that's what people do with these shows. They hear something as they're driving, and they go, I gotta say something about that, and they just pull over.
Well, dude, that's where I send all my voicemails, because they sound bad.
Yeah, this is true. It's true.
Yeah. The first thing I say is thank you for the email. The second thing is, the original emailer Charles was actually wanting to dual boot. And I can say part of the reason I think he wanted to dual boot, to use Linux. Well, why else? But to be honest, some things in Windows are unbackupable when you're in Windows because they're in use, they're being used, they're being written to, kind of thing. So I think that's one reason he wanted to dual boot into Linux to do it. I will say I have seen those tools in Windows. They do work almost just as well. I gotta say, I didn't have a lot of experience with them, but because I did in Linux, to use them was really easy, worked great.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Dor. Thank you, Rich, for the email. All is well. All right, that's it for the emails. So, Dor, why don't you wrap it up here? Any last comments, and tell us where people could find you, any sites you would like them to go to, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, first, quickie, if anyone wants to help with graphics out there, I'm putting a call out, not just for the I really want to get done door-to-doorgeek.com, which only needs a couple graphics, but there's a couple other things I'm working on where graphics help would be extremely appreciated. I'll thank you publicly. And I'll say, if you already know Linux, to be honest, there's cultures all over the world that believe in each one, teach one. Okay. I say, why stop there? If you know someone who needs to learn Linux and you yourself either don't have the time, the patience, the skills to teach, or you're just on different schedules, one's in Nevada, the other guy's in Maine, why don't you give the gift of Linux for the rest of us.com. I will personally guarantee anytime anyone asks me any question about anything, I will go over, above, and beyond to try to satisfy everyone involved.
Yes, I've seen Dor do this personally, and it's quite astonishing. I don't know how he gets it all done. So, definitely, just absolutely. So yeah, definitely check out linuxfortherestofus.com. And anything else, Dor?
Well, I really want to thank everybody for coming out live. I want to thank everybody for downloading. I want to thank everybody for asking me for Google Plus invites. And I gotta say, everybody's been doing a good job of not inviting jerks to Google Plus.
Yes, that's what you wanted.
I salute it, everybody.
Awesome. Well, of course, thank you, Dor, and thank you everybody who tuned in to watch, downloaded, and however you are receiving this media. And that's going to be it for Linux for the Rest of Us this week. We'll see you next time.